Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
When it comes to Donald Trump,
your message is excluding people. You're excluding me. You're excluding people that look like me. You're excluding people of color. You're excluding, Americans that maybe support you.
One of the greatest American soccer players ever, Rapino, couldn't let his shenanigans slide.
Knock the crap out of him, would you? Seriously. I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
The polar opposites in their approach.
I think it's just kind of a wasted opportunity and kind of selfish, to be honest, to not use that platform and the influence that we have, knowing how much people look up to us and listen to what we say, to try to make the world a better place.
Should be invigorating for some and devastating for others. Sadly.
Through the night.
Because she took a knee in protest.
This country allows you to play a game for a living and do very well.
So you can take a knee, yeah.
Right-wing media, along with the highest position in the country, went all out in their attacks.
When you go down and take a knee or any other way, you're sitting, essentially, for our great national anthem. You're disrespecting our flag, and you're disrespecting our country.
It was unjust. It was unfounded. But they saw an easy target to rile up their base, and they took the opportunity. Meanwhile,
I think simply I felt like it was the right thing to do. What was said about them and the way that it was said about them, and not talking about the issues that they wanted to talk about, that felt wrong to me. In much the same way that I came to the decision about kneeling, I came to the decision about coming out. It wasn't really a question of, is this the right thing to do? Should I do this? It very quickly became, why am I not?
Rapino remained steadfast in her reasoning, which was simply the origin of the protest and its true purpose. Trump would reportedly tell Cowboys Governor Jerry Jones kneeling was, quote, a winning issue for him and that it lifts him. He would use it over and over again to turn conservatives against their own.
I think over time, I've tried to be more thoughtful about it because it has impacted people. It has impacted my family, and I'm from a small conservative town that's like pretty tight knit. My mom worked at a restaurant, so it was constantly people coming in and out, and my family like lives in a place that didn't really agree generally with what I was saying, didn't agree with kneeling. Like, why are you not kneeling? And I don't mean kneeling in terms of kneeling. Like, what are you doing? What is everyone doing to help? Because everyone knows that we have a problem in this country. Everyone knows that we have serious issues to talk around racial injustice.
On Pablo Torre Finds Out, Rapino reflected on the matter. From Trump's tweets of Meghan should win first before she talks, finish the job.
In terms of the political backdrop and your back and forth with the President of the United States, Donald Trump, how do you put it into perspective?
I think we know who won that. Yeah. I held up my end of the bargain on that one.
And then she and the team did, winning the World Cup, and in addition, winning the Golden Boot, top goal scorer at the tournament, the Golden Ball, best player at the tournament, and the coveted Ballon d'Or.
But what was frankly shocking was to see people who claimed to be patriots and lovers of America, nationalists even, just openly trashing an American national team. Look at these reactions from the MAGA folks. I'm glad they lost. What an embarrassment. Even outright rooting for the opposing foreign team, Sweden.
Yet when they bowed out to Sweden at the recent tournament, it all went back to her stance years ago.
Also, my experience with kneeling, like, immediately showed me that it was all fake. What
do you mean?
Fake meaning like the conversation that was being had in a negative way was so disingenuous because it wasn't about what Colin was saying at all. Like, we're talking about the military now. Like, we're not talking about national security. We're talking about the right to protest and the First Amendment and police brutality and like all of these things.
Led by none other.
Wokeism makes you lose, ruins your mind, and ruins you as a person. You become warped. You become demented. The U.S. women's soccer team is a very good example of what's going on. Earlier this week, they unexpectedly lost to Sweden 3-0. And Americans were happy about it. You proved that point before I even said it.
The consistency of their attacks is this: fabricated and baseless.
So I was like, okay, you're just trying to like have a different conversation and one that slings mud at Colin and, you know, tries to discredit what he's saying. And I think from my perspective, I was like, well, I believe Colin and I believe black people generally. Otherwise, you have to accuse like the entirety of like their experience. You have to accuse them of lying, which is insane.
You know what woke means? It means you're a loser. Everything woke. Everything woke. It's true. Everything woke turns to shit, okay? It's true. It's true. Look at what's happening.
We need to have a reckoning with the message that you have and what you're saying about make America great again. I think that you're harking back to an era that was not great for everyone. It might have been great for a few people, and maybe America is great for a few people right now, but it's not great for enough Americans in this world. And I think that we have a responsibility, each and every one of us. You have an incredible responsibility as, you know, the chief of this country, to take care of every single person, and you need to do better for everyone.
Throughout it all, she remains unfettered.
So I think just then I was like, oh, this is just disingenuous in general, particularly on social media, and I'm not getting that real life feedback that anybody actually feels this strongly about it to ever come in. I'm out on these streets or at games or in Texas or Florida or, you know, places that are traditionally more conservative. Nothing, not one word. So I was just like, man, this is like whatever. So I'm just going to keep saying what I'm saying. And it seems like I like know when I'm on track when, you know, that part of the internet starts like saying crazy things. I'm like, oh, thank you for the reinforcement and like acknowledgement that I'm at the heart of it.
A lot to get into. Before we do so, be sure to submit any stories and follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, and TikTok. DMs are open. The reason why MAGA hates Megan Rapino so much, excuse me, and I have talked about this before, it is that they cannot control her. It is that they see somebody who is a stereotype of what they talk about at the bar over some, not Bud Lights, maybe Corona, but some other stuff. And what do they say? Purple hair, member of the LGBTQ plus community, probably a different word. This person that's trying to take away our heritage. Come on, the Bible says that is between a man and a woman. She is breaking their brains on this. She refuses to back down. She refuses to succumb to MAGA hypocrisy. It comes down to control. They see someone who looks different, acts different, expresses themselves, not viewed as what they think a lady should look like. And because she has a message at the end of the day that is built and based on inclusivity, as she put in that interview with CNN, instead of excluding people, they hate it. That's why they can't stand Megan Rapino.
Biden is not going to use the halftime opportunity to talk to the American people. Trump did, all presidents usually do. Biden's not going to do. What do you think of that?
I'm not surprised. I'm just not surprised.
Brett Favre is talking politics again.
So how should the leagues support and promote an anti-racism position without becoming political and alienating fans? Thank you.
Well, Brett is a great guy.
The man who sucks up to fascists.
You're no better than the next person.
Right.
And make sure that you are conscious of that each and every day.
The same guy who spouts this.
Hall of Famer Brett Favre is facing questions tonight of whether he knowingly took $5 million of state welfare money to build a new volleyball facility for his daughter's team 5 years ago at her university and his alma mater.
Me and Deanna have been blessed with wonderful material things because of what I've done. But we tried to stay extremely grounded.
Brett Favre asked the head of a nonprofit handling welfare funds, quote, if you were to pay me, is there any way that the media could find out where it came from and how much?
The former Green Bay Packers legend is accused of being part of a scheme that funneled welfare funds to him and projects where he had a vested interest. However, Favre is not alone, as the state's largest ever public corruption case involves the misappropriation of more than $77 million intended for the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program.
For those of you who are devastated
Time will heal.
You know, you have to make a choice whether you want to pay your light bill or whether you want to put food on the table.
But the state was dispersing millions more of its welfare dollars, just not to families that urgently needed it. In court documents and audit reports, the state alleges that the head of Mississippi's welfare agency squandered more than $70 million intended for children in poverty, instead using it as a private slush fund to benefit his family and friends. Tens of millions of dollars on items like hiring retired pro wrestlers, first-class air travel, a horse ranch, and $5 million to build this women's volleyball facility at the University of Southern Mississippi.
Well, apparently, this same man has thoughts on the state of American politics. Let's listen, shall we?
Even though I get surprised by a lot of things that's going on in this country right now, it may be best that I don't say what I really mean.
A measured approach. Why exactly? Well, State Auditor Shad White will tell you.
There was a period, clearly, where powerful people were benefiting from TANF funds here in the state of Mississippi. The first time that I knew that Brett Favre had some sort of intersection with our investigation was when an investigator walked into my office and he said, "I need you to watch this video."
State Auditor Shad White led the investigation.
It was a video of Mr. Favre promoting Prevacus's product, which was a nasal spray that was designed to prevent concussions. And my first question was, what does this have to do with welfare money? And the investigator's answer was exactly, what does it have to do with welfare money?
White, who holds that title in the state of Mississippi, has countersued Favre. So Favre is, well, being safe.
You're a Trump. I know you golf with Trump. He's a friend of yours. So you think it's his turn? What do you think?
Well, I thought it was his turn last time. Do I agree with everything he says and does? No, but you can say that about friends, family, and anybody. But I think our country was run about as good as you could do it when he was the president. So again, you don't have to like everything about him, but the state of our country is in turmoil. Maybe that's a poor word. Maybe it's worse than turmoil. But I think Donald is our best shot at turning this around.
So, where to begin? First, let me just say this. If there are any stories that we have missed, if there are any that you would like to submit, get at me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. DMs are open. Throw me a follow if you want to as well. But any stories that you think we should be covering, hyper-local, national, global, doesn't matter. Submit them. We'll take a look. Here's probably a good place to start, and it is via Brandon Contez. Joe Biden took part in the customary Super Bowl interview during the first 2 years of his presidency, speaking with Lester Holt on NBC in 2022 and Norah O'Donnell on CBS in 2021. Last year, however, Joe Biden opted to skip speaking with Fox ahead of the Super Bowl. Perhaps not too surprising, considering the rocky relationship both man and network have. But Biden does not have a strained relationship with CBS. That is fair, and that is true. George W. Bush was the first president to take part in a Super Bowl interview when he spoke with Jim Nantz in 2004. 5 years later, Barack Obama went on NBC for an interview conducted by Matt Lauer, jumpstarting a string of presidential Super Bowl interviews. The annual spot went uninterrupted until who else than Donald Trump declined being interviewed by NBC during the Super Bowl in 2018 after he accused the network of fake news. So there you have it. Is Eric Bolling ever going to say a single bad thing about Donald Trump on Newsmax? No. This is the same guy who, when Kendrick Lamar had a Grammys performance, said all lives matter. This is a guy who has done a podcast with Brett Favre previously and not asked a single difficult question. He is a brown-noser to the elites. He is scum of the earth. He is exactly what you should despise about media. A lapdog is all that he is, not a watchdog. He is not tough. He does not ask poignant questions. He does not question the elite. He sucks up to them because he wants to be them. On this whole, oh, I can't believe that Joe Biden didn't do it. Does anybody really care? Like, truly. When was the last time you sat down and thought, you know what I can't wait for on Super Bowl Sunday? Not Usher, not the game, not the second half. I can't wait for these softball questions that a president will get from a network. Who cares? Who cares? I think it's hilarious. I really do. I think it is foolish and dumb and hilarious all in one.
You have to stand proudly for the national anthem. Well, you shouldn't be playing. You shouldn't be there. Maybe you shouldn't be in the country.
When you come to think about it,
we believe everyone should stand for the national anthem. That's an important part of our policy. It's also an important part of our game that we all take great pride in.
The similarities are there between former President Donald Trump and current NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell.
I think it's very disrespectful to our country. I think it's very, very disrespectful to our flag. And when you get on your knee and you don't respect the American flag or the anthem, that's not being treated with respect.
Their views on protesting players.
And it's also important for us to honor our flag and to our country.
Strictly align with one another.
NFL owners don't want to pick them up because they don't want to get a nasty tweet from Donald Trump. Do you believe that?
When Colin Kaepernick was still an active quarterback.
And, we've moved on here, so.
They railroaded his entire career, in Trump's case for political points. In Goodell's case, to save his job, cowering to MAGA. They flubbed cases of DV.
He worked very hard. I found out about it recently, and I was surprised by it. But we certainly wish him well. It's a obviously tough time for him. He did a very good job when he was in the White House.
President Trump's speaking publicly about former top aide Rob Porter, who resigned after allegations of domestic violence became public. But tonight, new concerns about who knew what when about the accusations against Porter. Chief of Staff John Kelly, late tonight with NBC News, confirming he'd known for 3 months about an investigation.
Can you clarify to us exactly, there's been a lot of reporting about the timeline and when you found out about
Tuesday night.
You found Tuesday night?
If the accusations are true, 40 minutes later he was gone.
And done so for protection to their self-interests.
To be clear, did you know that a second tape existed?
Well, we had not seen any videotape of what occurred in the elevator. We assumed that there was a video. We asked for video. We asked for anything that was pertinent, but we were never granted that opportunity.
Let's get this straight. Ray Rice lost his job because we saw the video, not because of his actions. And for Commissioner Goodell to suggest that he had no idea what was on the video is a complete and utter lie, because he was told what was on the video. Ray Rice told him what was on the video, him punching his wife out.
When pressed to make a statement,
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
They do it, but far too late.
We, the National Football League, believe Black Lives Matter. I personally protest with you and want to be part of the much-needed change in this country.
Like Roger Goodell not saying a word when the summer protests spoke out until social media managers behind the scenes made it happen with NFL players. Only did the commissioner realize he had remained silent. At the end of the day, they are a capitalist dream.
But if you look in terms of dollars, $3 billion, $533 million, $525 million, that's peanuts for you. Should have increased it. $880 million, $645 million, $6 billion, that's for frigates. 889 million, 63 million, and that's for various artillery.
And a right-thinking person's nightmare.
He counts his money. He's the highest paid player in the NFL. He makes $35 million.
Donald Trump is clashing with the media again, this time revoking press credentials from the Washington Post. Trump accused the Post of covering him inaccurately, calling the paper phony and dishonest. Now, the editor of the Post says they're proud of their coverage and will keep at it. The Trump camp has already revoked credentials for a few other news outlets, including the Daily Beast and Politico,
They close off events to the media, as Roger Goodell and the NFL did just that at his annual press conference at the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, Nevada. The event, which has been open to all media, transformed into an invite-only event. This comes on the heels of former NFL media reporter and journalist Jim Trotter asking questions about the lack of diversity in the NFL newsroom. He currently has a lawsuit against the NFL. And trust me, there are plenty more examples that could be provided. One of the clear-cut ones is this. They both protect the top 1%. Donald Trump does it, and granted this is other politicians, but there is nobody that does it better, by providing tax cuts and helping those donors who will fundraise for him, donate to him, help his campaign in order to curry favors, because as we know from previous legislation, it's despicable, that has been passed, there is legalized bribery that goes on in this country between a donor, or more like an entity, and someone like, say, a Ted Cruz or a J.D. Vance. All of their campaigns are completely funded by the ruling class. For Roger Goodell, he protects them in other ways. When there is anything that goes on, anything that you think would warrant a answer from one of those billionaire governors within the National Football League, they don't do it. They don't go up there and take the bullets. That's what Roger Goodell is for. Send our goon. Tell him to go out there. Trot him out. Answer every question with non-answers. The absolute king of word salad. If someone were to be testifying or deposed, you know who they should hire to answer a question without answering a question? Roger Goodell. He will never give you anything unless it is to praise the ownership class, unless it is to praise the product. Rarely, since the Ray Rice case, has he said, we got it wrong, I got it wrong. And rarely will you ever hear him say that an owner is out of line or that they should have handled something a certain way. They both protect their donors and they both protect the ruling class. That is very, very, very clear. There's another one. They both protect the New England Patriots to very different degrees. There's a report, and I'll link below, from Seth Wickersham about how Roger Goodell played his part in helping the Patriots. Donald Trump has gone public time and time again protecting the Patriots, whether it is Bill Belichick or Robert Kraft. They both devalue player safety. Donald Trump has said the NFL is going soft, much like Josh Hawley believes that men are going soft. And what I find to be a similarity is Roger Goodell will say, yes, we are trying to implement different things and yada, yada. A new report came out that he wanted to launch a ground war against former players in the concussion lawsuit. That was despicable. So there are similarities. If we missed any, get at me in the comments section below. And as always, if we missed any stories, if there are any that fell through the cracks, local level, collegiate level, professional level, national level, global level, what have you, there are only so many hours in a day and only so much we see with our own two eyeballs. Get at me on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. DMs are open. Submit those stories and we'll get to as many as we can. Thank you so much. Have a good day.